I think the big challenge the communications field is going to face this next year is not only that it's an election year, but as we go through impeachment, as we get closer to a general election, people are more tribal in this country than they've ever been about their political ideology. In fact, more Americans are now okay with their son or daughter marrying someone of a different ethnic background or race than they are having a Democrat marry a Republican or vice versa. So that's how intense things have become. And if anything, they're going to become more intense as we get closer to next November. And that affects companies and the PR professionals in many ways. Number one is who's going to pay attention to your issues when every day is all the political infighting in Washington? Are we going to actually talk about important issues, or is it all going to become personalities and whether the election is going to be rigged or this or that? But it's going to dominate so many other important topics that there's the potential to drive an even bigger wedge between different groups of Americans, and that has me worried as a citizen and as a communications professional.
As a representative of Southwest Airlines, I would say one of our greatest business challenges for 2020 is going to be returning the Boeing 737 MAX to our fleet. So by the time we get into early 2020, we're looking at around 75 airplanes that we won't have had as part of our fleet that we're looking to bring back on. And so it's the business changing to be able to incorporate all those airplanes back in a relatively short period of time. It is creating that consumer trust in the airplane. And from a communications perspective, it's really about creating the story and the narrative around the rigor that it is taking to bring this airplane back safely into the fleet, into the flying global public, and then also the confidence that we have in that airplane.
If I think of the issues that are going to affect the PR industry most in 2020, I think one of them is going to continue to be the commoditization of what we do and the challenge that we face with procurement organizations trying to get good PR counsel at the cheapest possible price. I really believe that there's a value to what we provide and we shouldn't be relegated to low-cost providers. So I think procurement is going to be an issue that's going to continue to affect us in 2020.
You know, I think this expectation that companies need to take more of a stand on social issues is a growing trend, and I think PR professionals need to understand how to advise around that.
I'd have to say AI and artificial intelligence and how information gets spread, and watching that spread far and wide and whether that is credible or not. I think that's a real problem for our industry and something that we're all having to struggle with.
The one issue that's going to affect the PR industry the most in 2020 is disruption. That's cheating, because you could take disruption in a number of directions. I'm going to go with it anyway, because in the coming year, I think that we're going to continue to see massive social, political, economic, and technological disruption. It's only going to pick up. There's so many different things at play, whether it's continued political changes that we know are going to happen. There's a certain amount of social unrest that's happening all across the globe. The technological changes that we're seeing are only going to increase. And it's all of that mixed together. It creates a very dynamic landscape for our profession to operate within. So we're going to need to be anticipatory, we're going to need to be adaptive, we're going to need to be agile, and we're going to need to constantly be at the top of our game, because things are going to continue to move at a breakneck pace, and change is the norm. I think we're used to that, and it's only going to accelerate.
So I don't have a ton of time to read books or listen to podcasts. I did watch on an airplane recently the Amazon Prime show, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, and that by far was the best show I've seen in a long time. It had humor, it had intelligence, actors that I recognized. It was just fabulous, fabulous. I would recommend it for everyone.
My all-time favorite book from 2019 is Melinda Gates' The Moment of Lift. It's a fabulous book that chronicles her journeys talking to women and girls around the globe, and everything that she is doing and that foundation is doing to really help these women.
My favorite book for 2019 was Bad Blood, the story of the Theranos scandal. Absolute page turner, can't wait for the movie to come out, and really had a lot of lessons for us as communicators. Even though it's a business book, there's a lot of content in there about being true to your promises and not making promises you can't keep. So great book, I'd recommend it to anybody.
Okay, so this is gonna sound totally off the wall, but one of my favorite TV shows was Fleabag. And it was remarkable comedy delivered perfectly. And it was, very real life. And it was a great escape, but really enjoyed that TV series.